Hey, brothers and sisters, it's the Reverend. We are here at Green Valley Ranch with Gary Loizzo from with Styx, and away we go.
Well, 1974 was the first album I did with them. It was Man of Miracles.
Wow.
Okay, and then that actually was done in Pekin, Illinois, Golden Voice Studios. After that, I started thinking, I can make a studio myself. Why don't I just do this? And this was in the day before Pro Tools. It's all analog equipment, very expensive. But I had come from a group called the American Breed. I sang a song called Bend Me, Shape Me years and years ago.
You sang that?
I sang that, yeah.
I have a soul band, a horn band, and we do that song.
It's a million-selling record across the country.
Huge song.
So anyway, I became a commercial singer
wonders.
after that, and I sang radio and TV commercials for years and years after that.
Right.
So I did, I was doing all right, and I said, I really want to be an engineer producer because I spend so much time on the other side of the glass working with engineers. Now, back in the 60s when I was recording, people didn't take the time and energy like they do now. It's the love of it. Before it was a job.
Yep.
Okay, nobody really knew anything. They just put a mic out there and they recorded. And, God, I realized by watching some of the better engineers, Bruce Swedien was of my era, and I watched him place mics in certain places, and I said, you know what, if I stuck my ear like this by a guitar, I'd find the right sweet spot, and damn if that didn't work. I stuck my head in pianos, and I said, oh, here's a sweet spot, put a mic here, and then I go, oh, here's one, put it here. And I became a pretty good engineer. I do have an electrical engineering background. I went to DeVry in Chicago. So I started actually building consoles back in the early 70s, and I made a small studio in my home, and pretty soon people started coming there. Now I was working with Bill Trout in Chicago, who had the Shadows of Night and the Buckinghams and the American Breed and a couple others.
All those,
so he would funnel me some of his acts to woodshed some of their songs. So that's how I got to meet Dennis back in '72. Bill Trout sent him over to my home and said, hey, Dennis, go to this guy. He's pretty musical. He's had hit records, and let him work with you on your songs. So Dennis would come in and record a couple songs, before he present them to the band. And I got to know Dennis, and I really thought he was musical. And I said, wow, this is pretty cool. And I met Kevin Cronin,
right?
And I did the same stuff with him. I mean, they're all Chicago
people. It's all that whole Illinois, Chicago.
Yeah, exactly.
The Ides of March were from that area.
So little by little, it developed into a relationship with these people, and they would tell their friends. And then I worked with Survivor. I did REO's. Part of REO's, you can tune a piano, but you can't tune a Fish album. It's great record.
Great record.
And Kevin was real happy with it, but then they recorded most of their stuff on the West Coast. So I kind of lost sight of that band. But Styx, we kind of fell in love with each other, and it became a good working relationship. But I didn't have a studio. So they still did their stuff at Paragon after they didn't want to go to Pekin anymore, which was, that's 3 hours from Chicago. They'd have to live down there for a while. It was a pain in the ass. They got to the point now where they were starting to actually do some commercial, good, and they were on tour long enough. They wanted the comfort of their own city to record in. I didn't have a studio yet, so about '76 or so, I opened my own studio, Pumpkin Studios, and they would come in and spend a week or two developing their songs with me. And then they would go to Paragon and record finally.
Right.
Now, I was really fortunate because sometimes when you record a song for the first time, there's magic.
Oh, yeah.
There is magic.
Absolutely.
And they would have to, they did the magic without thinking about it.
And
then they tried to recreate it. And pretty soon, by about the end of Grand Illusion, some of my things were sounding as exciting, maybe even as recorded as well, as some of these products that they spent months on.
Right.
So Cornerstone, they said, okay, we're going to give you a shot here. So they came in and we did Cornerstone, and it was triple platinum. Got nominated for a Grammy for that. Then we did, Cornerstone, that was Paradise Theater.
Right.
Triple platinum album, really good. It came out great.
Record, yeah.
And then we did Kilroy.
Right.
Got nominated for a Grammy again. So, I mean, it was kind of really good. So it really went along. And during that other time period, I worked with Survivor. I worked with a lot of R&B bands out of Chicago. So it became a wonderful thing. I was one of the first, what they call home studios
Right.
You know, before there was Universal and CRC and a couple of those guys downtown. They hated me because I was taking their rock and roll night business. They had commercials all day long,
Right.
but they wanted to make their studio work 24
night,
hours
right.
a day. So they would have night stuff that they would give them reduced rates. But it was a lot easier and cheaper for me to have these bands come in here. You know, I could charge $75, $80 an hour. They had to charge $200 an hour,
Right.
Because their overhead was much higher.
Right.
So my platform really was successful.
That's